Hi, my name is Cheryl, and this is Savage Insomniac Radio. And I've tried to record this a few times, so I apologize that you're just seeing me chaining here with and getting ready to crochet. But this channel has like a radio talk show on it, and then little this is crochet, and then it's got like different things on my cat, Fire. And I'm hoping to at some point organize these. But for now, if you want to look for different things, just please use the search function. If you're looking for kitty videos, it's easier to find that way. You're not going to find a lot of crocheting on here yet. Anyway, if you are new to crocheting and you do not know how to tie a slip knot or do this chain or anything, please comment down below and I will make a video for that. I might go back and do it anyway. I'm gonna do like I'm doing a baby blanket here. That would involve chaining about across like maybe, sorry, I'm trying to gauge it, what I would do, probably about 3 feet across. I'm gonna guess. I'm not gonna go that far. I've actually gone far enough to make a demonstration. So here's the loop attached to my hook. There's one in between, and then you're gonna go into this hook, this loop, and you're gonna do a single crochet. Sorry, it's really hot in Portland, so I'm a little dumb.
It's a second chain from the hook.
Yeah, second chain from the hook,
Other
and then
people are
if
confused.
not, like if you're looking at this loop that's attached, there's like one in between, and then I went in. But second chain from the hook is really the way most people are going to state that. And so you're going to go into this loop. It's the top loop. Some people do this differently. I don't advise that. Go into this top loop. Pull up a yarn, and I'm assuming most people here do know how to do this. Okay, like if you're looking at this video, you probably are actually somebody from a group that I'm in. So I'm going to go across here, and I'm going to keep doing this in each chain across, and I'm going to get to a point. So the problems that crop up in early crocheting are, one is that the chain is often very hard to do, and so you may have like one loop being gigantic, one loop being small, one loop being in between. So your chains actually need to be consistent. And so that's why, if I didn't mention it, I almost always, but when I taught my daughter, Sarah, did I have you chain?
You chained for me.
Yeah, I chained for her, and then I even did the first. I had her practice, and then
you chained for me first.
and then I also had her like crochet into actual single crochets that I had done, which is what you're looking at right now. That's done. And so that's one problem that can creep up, is that's just inconsistent. The other problem is that, see how I have like I've put my, and I really apologize if this is hard to see, but I kind of wrapping my finger around to get tension. So that whole thing, that's just something that people have to get used to. And what I would recommend, I have mixed feelings about the hooks I'm using, because I found out the inline hooks, which are just the metal hooks, are actually a lot more ergonomic. So Sarah, you found a pair of ergonomic ones that were made by the same company, which is what? Yarnus. I can't recommend them other than to say they probably would work. Okay, like I have not tried those. These have worked for me, so I assume those will. But what was I getting at? Make sure that you're having something easy to hold. It doesn't help when you're gripping on or holding something like this. It's a terrible way to crochet. It hurts this hand, and then it makes it harder to hold tension. There are some tension rings. I've never used them. Worth a shot. And I've seen some really elaborate designs, but that's just a thing that takes time. So as you're going across, so the other problem that can happen, and it's why I wish I hadn't put so many in here, but I might actually just forward this through, and I apologize for this, but I actually can crochet fast enough to get through some of this, is that when you get to the end of the row, what can sometimes happen is people can lose a stitch or add a stitch, and they often, when they're doing it, don't notice it. I saw a recommendation in a group I'm in to mark the first stitch and the last stitch. I have to say this, I wholeheartedly concur. As annoying as it is to mark it, if you do that, you will know the exact stitch you're going into at the end, and you'll know if you added. You're not going to make that mistake. I don't, especially on a blanket like something like this, it's not going to get in the way that much. It gets in the way more on other things, and I use stitch markers a lot more than I used to. And if you saw my first blanket, which was this color actually, it really kind of, it started it was like kind of loose, and then it got looser and looser and looser, and pretty soon it wasn't square, it was some shape. And I undid that thing. Like throughout the years of its use, I kept undoing it and redoing it because it kept getting damaged, and so I just would re-roll it. I was like, God, I want this thing to go straight, and I tried all sorts of things to try to get it to go straight, but the problem was the yarn was all stretched out, and I think it kind of had a memory on it. Does that make sense to you, Sarah? Like,
Yeah.
once something's been crocheted a certain way, like the yarn starts to lose its elasticity, and
Especially if it's been sitting for years.
and if it's been pulled around too, like yanked on, that'll also cause it. You know how elastic kind of loses its
Yeah.
elasticity? Well, it's the same thing with yarn. I'm surprised I've been able to redo as many things as I have and get them to work. But stretchy yarn, not your favorite. Like I redid a cotton hat that I did recently, actually sitting around here somewhere, and it didn't have any of those issues. But that cotton has no elasticity, like most cotton doesn't. But this peaches and cream stuff from Walmart. Don't get it. Cotton is really toxic, and that stuff. Found out that what's it called, mercerized, Sarah? I forgot.
Yeah. Mercenaries.
So basically, what they do is they put the chemicals all over, like lye. That stuff's toxic, and they do it just to make it soft, so that you can softer, because it's not that great. It really killed my hands, and so like, it's not good for your body. And then you got the pesticide components and everything with it. It's not a great thing. So I know it's expensive, but I suggest Eco Butterfly organic yarn, and if you can afford it. If you cannot afford it, there might be some, like wool is probably, it might be, if you can find a good ethical source, wool might be an option, although you can't really wash it well, so I mean that's something to consider if some people are allergic to it. I don't know, maybe just try to find the least toxic. Oh, there goes the hair in the yarn. But the thing about this is I actually don't care, because this is just some of my old, like this is a yarn that someone gave me, and it's actually kind of a rough acrylic, if you want to know what I'm working with. I don't know the brand,
It's
but
years old.
yeah, it's
probably,
years
too.
old yarn. I mean, this is probably just some crap yarn, like I don't even know. I mean, it actually doesn't even feel as good as Red Heart, which I use here and there. I honestly, I'm trying to not use a lot of these yarns, but when you're doing a baby blanket, I actually like to use cotton, but it's a hell of a lot easier to just use this type of thing. So here at the end, now this is where people are advising, so I'm just gonna, because I actually do have a stitch marker. So what people are advising, and that I never have done, ever, is to put a chain in the last stitch. They're not saying to do it when you're gonna, so don't do it before you turn, because then you just have to take it out. So here's the end of the row. I've done my last stitch, and I'm going to chain one and turn my work all the way around. And see, that's the chain you just did. And now you're going to go into this first hole. You don't want to miss that. Some people miss it and go like that. You're going to lose a stitch if you do that. So you go into the first hole, and as soon as you do that, go ahead and pop a stitch marker in there. I don't like these. Get the plastic ones or use something else. Don't use a scrap of yarn. It can fall out and then you don't know where it is, unless you're really good at it. I'm good at it, but not that great. There you go. You got even someone who's not a novice. Like, I've been crocheting longer than I'm going to mention, and so now you're going to keep going across. So you've only got that one chain. If you're putting at the end there, that's all you're doing. If you forget to put a chain in, I almost want to go back. I'll do it at the next one. So if you forget to put a chain in, this also will cause a problem, because just like that chain, if you forget to put it in, it's gonna
Cinch it.
it's gonna cinch it in. Yeah, because that chain kind of keeps it like square, if that makes sense. So it kind of rounds it out, and you end up not
Straightens up the edge of
technically
the
losing a stitch, but you are going to lose a little bit of material, just that loop that you do. So once I get to the end, that'll be more obvious. But if you want to keep your blanket straight, one of the things that you have to do is actually do a small sample swatch, and just, you know, like grab your hook, and this is an H hook, and make it, this is probably a worsted weight yarn, so it's an H hook with a worsted weight yarn, and like acrylic yarn, and make sure, well, I lost my train of thought, I'm done talking. I might come back to it, but I'm sorry to say that when it hits 100 degrees in this area, I'm just dumb. So I apologize profusely for that lack of ability to remember it. But anyway, okay, just don't worry about it. Just keep going across, and oh yes, you want to make a swatch, and you want to like just make a small square, so don't just maybe chain 10, and then
Very small.
yeah, like just make sure that your gauge is straight, make sure you know your hook size, write that stuff down, and try to keep at your work. Like, don't set your work down for a while and then come back to it, because your gauge like starts to go off when you do that. So my daughter's done a couple of pieces with me, and I crochet faster because I've been crocheting longer, and plus we've had some stuff go on in here, and it's led to delay. And so I wasn't thinking about it, but my daughter crochets really tightly. But you know, your stitch gauge goes around, and so like between that, forgetting the hook size sometimes it was used, like it can really change stuff. Even me, I crocheted for years. I crocheted a towel the other day, and I chose a stitch. Oh my gosh, I took the whole thing out. It was annoying to me. It was the stitch I was using though. I would never recommend it as a stitch for anybody. Even my daughter couldn't stand it. We both ripped our towels apart. So I'm almost to the end of this row. And I do have some of my early work, because I redid the blanket I'm talking about, and the kid didn't want it in my family because it didn't have shell stitch around it. I found out years later it had a picot stitch around it, and she didn't want that. She counted shells. So something to keep in mind, a child might like that shell stitch, and 4 or 5 double crochets, if you know what stitch I'm talking about, and will make it really nice. I can show that toward the end, actually. I hate it when people talk about stuff and don't show it. I don't know. I would probably come back to it, but because I've been really flaky lately and not feeling the best, I'm going to just probably try to work that in tonight, and maybe my daughter can remind me to do the shell stitch to show you. So here we are at the end. Chain 1 when you get to the end of every row. If you fail to chain 1, and you just turn, it will allow you to do it. The work is not going to say no, you can't do it. And you go into this first stitch. You're not going to skip. If you skip, it'll cinch in more. But if you go like that, it's not that it's not going to let you do it, but the problem is going to become, and I don't know if you can see it, maybe you can't yet, but this, with the lack of a chain 1 here, you see how now, okay, so
It's
look at the way
curled.
it is. It's kind of already this
curved.
is a little bit less. If I keep doing this, it's just going to go in and in and in until I've got dang A.
You can see where it's
Yeah,
a
if
little
I-
bit more
Yeah, if I'm,
flat on this side
Yeah,
in
and-
comparison.
and so let me show you, like if I put it, this is a really small thing. Sorry, I'm going back to my stitch to where I was. But you just need that chain 1, okay? Like you do. And you don't need to do what I did, where I just pulled my hook back. You just need a chain 1, turn, and then go like this. If you do have, sorry to keep doing this, but I actually want to show a few things that could be causing problems for people. If you do have something where you're going like this and you make a big loop like that, though, don't do that if you can avoid it, because it usually ends up making this really ugly thing here. Sarah, do you know what I'm talking about eventually?
It'll make it a little
Yeah,
popping
so
out.
you do want,
on
while
the
you don't need to
side.
pull it really taut, when you loop, just try to loop the way you normally do, you know, and then turn it. It doesn't need to be that much. And so Then you're gonna go back across, and so if you do that chain one at the end, and you can, it's okay to put in. Sorry, all my stitch markers decided to come out to do a dance or something. But and if you put that, it's okay to put that in the end to mark your stitch. It's a crafty little way to not forget your stitch and make sure you put it in there right. I'm used to crocheting, so I just go through those both two loops on when you're doing that. Go through and grab both loops. Sorry, I got my stitch a little loose. So you can see, like, even with people like me, it happens that have been crocheting a long time. It's just I know what I'm doing. Like, I tighten my stitches as I go along if I have to. And so, but just try to work as evenly as you can. If you happen to notice that your blanket is starting to look like it has too many stitches, take the row out. Don't be stubborn. It's worth it. Or you can, there are some tricks to that too, but if you notice that it's looking really bad and you don't like it, don't keep going. Because what happens is, then you're unhappy with it and you probably have to take it out. Now, I'm going to show a couple of things that can happen. So sometimes if people are crocheting along, this is a stitcher, I just went into it, they aren't thinking and they go into the stitch twice. Now you got a blanket that's going to be longer on this row. It's going to have more stitches on this row because there's an increase. It's called an increase. Unintentionally, I put 2 stitches in here, so I'm going to take it out. Another trick, count your stitches at the end of each row to keep even. If there's 50 to start with, there should be 50. 4 rows down the line. If there's 49, you can do what I just did. On the next row, you can add in 2 to make up that extra stitch. No one's ever going to notice that. The eye just doesn't. I can kind of show that, but I won't be able to show it that much.
To really
Yeah.
be noticed.
So, just keep that going, and then every once in a while, like, kind of take a look as your work gets bigger. Take a look at it. Fold it. See whether it's folding into a square. Because as this goes up, I'm going to have more and more rows. See, and eventually there will be so many rows that it's a blanket. Sorry, sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I can't actually see what the person's talking about. So I'm going to go to the end of this row as fast as I can, because right now I'm kind of going slow. As much as it may not seem like it, I'm really not.
For you, it's slow.
For me, it's slow, and part of it's I'm having a little bit of arm and hand pain from my condition, not necessarily from this. And although crocheting with peaches and cream did not do me any favors, I have this sweater that someone gave me during a really bad situation on the West Coast here. And so I saw it, and my daughter was wearing it one day in the store, and she was like, this looks like it's inside out. So I grabbed it, and I was like, oh, it does. So maybe I'll just fix it, And then I looked at it, I was like, it's not inside out. They've stitched all over the front of this, and it looks like it's inside out. So I crocheted all this stuff with that peaches and cream, really thick too. Thick yarn, oh my gosh. And I called it my Prince sweater. Very cool. But it hurt my hands. So that's why I don't recommend that type of yarn. I almost think it's better to work synthetic yarn than it is cotton yarn. It's that bad. But having said that, synthetic yarn probably isn't the best for anybody either. But we live in this world, do we not? We are living in a material world. I am a material. Actually, I'm not, just so you know.
Might pay for that by having a song.
I doubt it. I hate Madonna's songs half the time. I basically evict Madonna's songs. It's not that I hate her. I don't. I like some of her songs, but if I don't like her song, it just goes. I mean, I listened to all those when I was a kid, and a lot of them I didn't like. Talented. Trying to say she is, and if you don't like her, then you don't have to think she's talented. I'm fine with that too. I am good with just about anything except for too many bad discussions right now. Can't do that. And I'm hoping most people that would be here would be into the kind of positivity, because, So last stitch of the row, you're putting your last single crochet in. I'm not gonna pop my stitch trace marker in there. Now I'm gonna show you what I was talking about with a shell stitch. I'm actually gonna start it out. You may not normally do this, but I'm gonna start it out the way I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I'm trying to show a stitch. So first you do a single crochet in the first stitch, and then you're gonna skip a stitch. Sorry, I'm so used to doing this on autopilot that I actually almost forgot. And then this is the way I do this stitch. So when I'm doing this, it's typically to go around the edge of the piece. You do not have to put 5 in there. In fact, honestly, probably 3 is about max you'd be able to do if you were going to do this on this the way I'm doing it, but I'm going to show it the way I do it because it's a really nice thing to go around the blanket at the end. So you can either put 4 double crochets, and I need to go back and discuss that, or you can, and then you're going to skip a stitch after these. You've done 5, and then you're going to skip a stitch, and then you're going to go in here into this next stitch and do a single crochet. So I'm going to do that again. Skip a stitch, wrap your yarn around, go into this hole. Now you've got 3 loops, wrap around. I'm just showing double crochet. Now you've got 2 on the hook, wrap around. Now you've got, that's 1 double crochet. Sorry, is this in view?
Yes.
Wrap around, go back into that same hole, pull up a loop, wrap around, go through 2, wrap around, go through 2. Wrap around, go back through that same hole again, wrap around, come through 2, wrap around, come back through 2. You've got 3. It is your option with a shell stitch how much. So I'm doing that same thing again. Wrap around, back into the hole. This is if you want 5. And then wrap around, come back through. So that's 5. This is how I do my shell. I go, skip 1 stitch, then go into the next one. You're just going to do a single crochet. This is in order to anchor your shell down, just so that you know. And so that's what that looks like around, and it makes a very nice edging for a blanket. You can also just do 4 half double crochets. I'm really sorry. 4 double crochets.
You can do half
into
double
that.
crochet
Yeah,
shells,
you could do
but
half
this is
double crochet shells, but it won't be as eye-popping for the edge of a blanket. I could show other stitches here, but I'm afraid at some point that somebody might become somewhat frustrated with me just, oh well, I'm going to show all kinds of stitches to people here. But anyway, I hope it's kind of helped, because there's some really basic things that happen when people are crocheting. It's very frustrating. Let me tell you something. It's not only the novice that will screw up on stuff like this. I can't tell you how many things I've done where it starts out like this, and then as it's going up, it's kind of going in like that, and I don't realize it till I get way up to here. Or it's kind of going in out like that. I'm kind of being exaggerated, but like in a V or an A shape. And it's so frustrating to have done that much work. And my work in the beginning wasn't perfect. I have examples of some of this going. I don't have them right down here. This is some of my more recent work, and to show that people can improve. And so this is like a mini skirt that I did. Actually, this stitch in here is not my favorite, and so I don't know. I'm probably going to do a tutorial on that, but I might switch that stitch. And this is another thing I did just recently. I watched somebody do a tutorial. Anyone who does embroidery, who actually like stitched loops across the top. I don't have like a vacant one, so you have to imagine this is just a zipper. She used embroidery to put loops across all around this, and then we just kind of worked single crochets in a spiral, and I might actually show that one too, because I've done that. But anyway, I made that. I just kept going around, and I round and around and around, and I eventually finished. and I'd have to discuss this. And I wanted this to be a fanny pack, and I didn't want to work with hardware, so I made a button closure, and it actually has several.
Two
So
straps and a button closure
yeah,
where
see?
there's multiple button holes
So you
for
can, if you're
adjusting.
in a little bit more space there, you can do that. And you can use other stuff, but I just got tired of the whole thing. I was looking around, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. So I hope this video has helped you. Some people might be like, this was supposed to be a single crochet tutorial, and that is true. But yet, it did talk about this, and you can see how this beginning is staying nice and straight. And if you pay attention and you work on your projects daily, don't put your work down and put it aside. It leads to uneven work unless you're, I don't know, somebody who's just super spot on all the time. Then you're not me. Have a great rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If you have a request for something, that is fine. Like I said, I can show how to make a slip stitch, and I would do that. Did I show that already on here?
No.
Okay.
Not that
I really wish that I had better working yarn, because this is sort of small, but just usually this would be a ball of yarn it's attached to. But if you wrap around here, so you have kind of like an O, and you're gonna have more yarn. Okay, like I'm gonna do that again. Sorry. So you have kind of this O, and then wrap through here. And then usually that would be attached to a ball of yarn. I kind of go like that, and that's when you're gonna start your chaining. So that is probably about all I'm gonna discuss right now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, and see you next time.